should be able to hear us. The old routine first two sentences out of my mouth anytime we started to stream. What's up, everybody in chat? Give us a wave. Let us know if you're here. Are we here? We don't even know. Rats in the call, why don't you talk so we can make sure you test your levels? Hey, everybody. We're so excited to be here.
Hello.
It's
Hello.
April.
What's up?
Hello.
Levels
Yo,
looking good. Chat, let us know if we are at the right level as we're talking. I will keep one eye on the chat always. And of course, if you have questions, throw them at us. Welcome to the stream. We are the Riot Animation Team, the RAT, RAT. And we are here because it's been a hot minute since we've done some good old-fashioned demo reel reviews. Awesome. And we got so many of them. As always, we grabbed as many as we can, and we're going to try and rip through them, but there's definitely not time for all of them. So please keep, anybody who's either in our Discord, if you're not, there's a link at the top. Go through them, help each other out, give each other reviews. Everybody can get better together. Beauty of community. But with that, we don't want to waste any time, all this babbling. Let's get into it. But first, some quick reviews. Let's see which rats are helping with the demo reels today. Friends?
Hey. My name is Adam Waldman. I am a senior animator in research and development at Riot, and I've been here for about almost 2 years in July.
And I'm Brendan. I'm an animator on Valorant, and I am happy to be here today.
I'm Alex, animator on League of Legends, and I'm here almost 2 years as well, in August.
Hey friends, I'm Skylar. I'm a principal animator on R&D at Riot.
I'll hop in next. Hi everyone, my name's Vanessa. I'm an animator on Valorant, and I've also been here almost 2 years. It's a lot of us almost 2 years. I stopped keeping track of which month, but it's around there.
My name is Christopher. I'm an anim lead in R&D right now. I've been at Riot for about almost 8 years.
Nice. And I think for all the not the first time streamers, I'm the last one. I can't believe I get to say this. My name is Lana Bashinsky. I'm an associate art director in R&D, which is pretty cool. And I'm your rat MC today. But that is not all the rats that we have today. We have 3 first-time rat streamers here with us. So why don't you give us a little bit of an intro for yourselves and for the world?
I guess I'll go first. I'm JT. I'm an animation artist 1. Started about 3 months ago, so I'm fresh off the boat, and I'm on League Skins team, working on some secret stuff. So yeah, hopefully you'll see it pretty soon.
Awesome.
John, you want to go?
Let's do it. Yeah. Hi, I'm John DeFont. I am also on the League Skins team. I'm an animation artist too, and I joined in December of 2022. So pretty new myself. That's me.
And I'm Kevin Rucker. I've been here for just over a year, and I work in R&D with Adam.
Awesome. Can we get rats in the chat, please, for our 3 first-time rat streamers? So exciting that you're here. So happy that you will join us for the real reviews, providing your invaluable knowledge to these fine folks from the community. Also, an unbelievable number of first-time chatters in the chat. Amin for WoW. A couple names that I unfortunately cannot read. Oh no, I can. Kaliani, Misen94, Equinox, Gay Mischief, June HJK. Welcome everybody. Ortega 3D. Oh my gosh, so many new folks. There's so many that you're all popping up. I cannot possibly say hi to you all, but welcome. We're so happy you're here. Quick little plug at the very top, just in case any of you need to leave. If you haven't already, if you want to be a part of the demo reel review stream in the future, or you're interested in having your reel reviewed in the future, check us out on Twitter. We are at Rat Animators, or in our Discord. We always tweet out and post in the channels on the Discord when we're going to stream. Sometimes it comes in real hot. Sometimes we get a bit of advance notice when I'm on top of things. There's a wonderful community on both sort of platforms, but that's the best way for you to get your stream review or your reel reviewed or your animation reviewed in the future. So check those out if you want to participate. And without any further ado, we're going to kick it off with our first reel of the day. So we're kicking things off with Kylie Choate. I'll get the audio up. And I will also do a quick review of how we do our demo reviews. If it is a demo reel, we're going to watch it through once with audio. Game Mischief, this is you. Yay, welcome. We're watching it through once with audio and all the way through. And then from there, we will give overall reel feedback, stronger shots, weaker shots. What is something that you could take out? What is something that you're missing? And then the rats are going to vote on one particular shot to talk about, because we don't have time to do craft feedback for all the pieces in the reel, but we'll pick one and give you craft feedback on that one so you can make adjustments and ideally learn and apply that to the rest of your work. So rats, are you ready for Kylie's first reel of the day?
Let's do it.
Ready.
Yay, thumbs ups, let's do it. I got my audio on. Chat, are you ready? I'm going to assume you are. Let's go. Cool. Turn the music off. Music is a vibe. Music is definitely a vibe. We're going to keep on playing. All right. And whenever anybody has some overall first impressions, hit it up. I almost always am ready and willing to talk instantaneously. So I'll kind of give a couple initial thoughts while y'all sort of think about it. I think you have like a good variety of pieces here. Some high energy pieces and then some. This one is a little low energy. This is certainly the weakest one of the whole bunch to me, to the point where it's not offering a ton other than showing that you can like work with mocap, but it's not adding enough and showing enough of like a complicated mocap shot that I don't know if it's worth sort of keeping in as a part of this compared to this especially, which is a lot more complicated and cooler. And then these shots here, the background is so dark and you don't have like really great lighting coming up from this side. This piece has like some swipes which are pretty bright, though they kind of are calling out your arcs of like not being super perfect arcs here. But this one doesn't have those swipes, and so the weapon, especially like when it gets in here, this really thin, gets really lost, and we don't actually get to see as easily a lot of the cool action that you're doing throughout. Like this, like the weapon is almost completely disappeared into the background. So just sort of compositionally, some things are making it actually hard to sort of suss out your animations for viewing. I heard somebody unmute.
I was going to agree with that, because you can also like lose the arms of the character. What's that? Yeah, like the arms of the character here. You don't really know what's happening just because it's too black on black on black. So all your beautiful work is being occluded by the darkness of the background.
I have a couple kind of like cross the whole reel pieces of feedback. So there's two things that kind of stood out to me as feedback, mostly on these first three shots. I think the Spider-Man shot does some of these things a little bit better, so I'll actually talk about these other two. Two things that I noticed are arc tracking was one, so I want to call that out first. I mean, Lana sort of mentioned it here. it's difficult to tell so much here whether this trail thing is actually tracking that the arc's not clean or not, but it creates the illusion that the arc is not clean, even if it is. So that's just something to keep in mind here, that when doing like an animation trail kind of like this, even if your arcs are clean, it can create the illusion of them not being. But I noticed specifically on this next shot that if you kind of like follow the tip of the weapon during some of these actions, particularly like through here, I guess it's less that the like arc is not clean, but more that the weapon kind of, or that the spacing, let me see if I can sort of track this. Gets like tight there, and then you have this drop if I'm sort of tracking this, and then it starts coming forward. And so what you get is, if I kind of like draw that, is like this kind of feeling, whereas what you really kind of want to feel is like a nice clean arc going through. So that's just like an easy thing to fix if you just kind of like track the end of your weapons. The second piece of feedback I wanted to give was, I think some of these combat animations in particular could use a little like offsetting. A lot of the animation just happens all at once. So I'll give a couple examples of that. Oh, let me go back to this one. The character is kind of like leading with the body here, but then, sorry, like when you actually do the hit here, you're doing some good delay where like the sword's kind of delaying behind here, but you kind of lose that through the rest of this, where you kind of want to feel the character like leading more with the body. And this sword like really dragging back through this whole thing to really like feel like the weight of this a little bit more throughout this. And I'm just going to draw on really fast because I'm trying to be like, and then like really kind of pushing forward. So kind of think about the action, about like which part of the body is leading the action. So like in this one, I kind of think that generally with like heavy weapons, you kind of want the pelvis to lead, and then the chest to follow that, and then the actual weapon to follow that. And what that will lead to is poses like a little bit more like this, where first the pelvis is getting there, then the chest is getting there, and then your sword's the last thing. And you can extrapolate that all the way through the end of this, where maybe even the pelvis is like forward more during here, and you get a little bit more like torque to the body on this, and maybe that results in the weapon even being like delayed for like another frame, something like that, which will give this last kind of hit here before you actually hit the ground like a little bit more. You can see almost, if you just follow the red lines now, that kind of like has like a whipping motion to it that it was kind of missing before. So that's my rapid fire.
Cool. Yeah, JT.
Yeah, I want to talk about some general things. For me, like I feel like I might be saying this like on multiple reels. I know like I'm a real aficionado from back in the day, and I had to do a lot of this stuff a few months ago as well. But one of the big things I would say is kind of like doing some homework before you start putting your reel together. And I think one of the big things is figuring out and nailing down like what studio or what game that you want to be applying for, even if there's not an application out. Like usually it comes in rounds and stuff like that. And there are studios that have similar like styles as well. So I would try to nail that down. From looking at this reel, it seems like there's a mixture of hand key and motion capture work, which some studios do, but maybe you want to hone in on one or the other and really focus your work towards one of those, and look at some games from some companies or work from some companies and try to mimic that to your best ability. I think that'll really go a long way. So
I love that. I think I love that note. I heard when I was in school, I remember hearing conflicting things about that, but I know as a professional, there's nothing I love more than somebody's reel immediately showing me that they can do the job that I need them to do. Great note, JT. All right. The other thing I forgot to say up top is that we are timing these reviews. So we make sure we don't take too long for any one review. So let's have like maybe one more overall note if somebody's got one. And if not, what piece do y'all want to talk about as a part of the review?
Yeah, I think I have one more overall note for these mocap ones, that I like that you're kind of going in on top and making kind of like creative decisions on the posing on this stuff. It's a good exercise for you to do. Some of these though, like I understand that this one's like a ninja, more of a ninja pose than the one in the original mocap. They're really just kind of going in to make these feel a little bit nicer, since they are the poses that you're creating by yourself. Maybe reference like some cool anime comic books or a pose that really you find that is exciting outside, and you can put that on top. It feels right now that, to me, it feels like you might be inventing the pose a little bit, and it ends up the shoulders a little bit awkward, and the stance isn't all that appealing. So I think that going in and researching what pose you want to apply on top of mocap beforehand, I think you'd benefit a lot from that.
Yeah, great note. So on that, does anybody have a particular piece that they want us to dive deeper into?
Let's do the Spider-Man one. We haven't talked about it.
Which one? Yeah, we could do the Spider-Man one. Whatever you want. I just said scrubbed around randomly. Do you want Spider-Man, Adam?
Yeah.
All right, Spider-Man. Let me bookmark it quickly for everybody. Bookmark here. Great. Bookmarked. So, or did you have a note that you wanted to give, Adam, before I immediately just start talking again?
Sure. I'll give a quick note kind of about the way that because I liked that you were exploring camera, you're moving the characters around each other in the scene dynamically. It's a great exercise and a good shot to work on. So let's talk a little bit about how you're using the camera, because I think you can do a couple of minor things to like really enhance the work that you have here. So generally, if we want to avoid that like really CG Maya camera feel, we want all of the camera moves to be as motivated by the character that you're tracking as much as possible, instead of trying to be predictive or anticipate where they're going. So take his jump, for instance. If you track his head location as he moves up, it's pretty much static all the way to the top of the jump in frame. Doesn't move pretty much from here all the way down to close to here. And if you want to sell to him jumping, if you want to give it that sense of like you're not just elevatoring up with him, just let the character lead a little bit. So we can push Spider-Man off screen a bit and have the camera catch up. So maybe we're like right here, and his body is quite a bit higher up, arms out, legs or whatnot. And then by the time you get to the top, the camera can rise even a little bit higher than him. Here. Yay. Just to sell how quickly he moved. And then, like, if a real person was doing this, they'd have to catch up with it. The other thing, since this guy over on the right is the target of our action, we're staying. It's almost quite odd that the camera is moving away from the focus of the action the moment he shoots the web. So instead of having the camera drift sort of to the right over here, I would hold it a bit almost to the other direction. So instead of moving there, maybe our guy moves a bit more center screen. We get a good full body view of him and his reaction. And you get a little bit more of like forced perspective into the shot. And then push in slightly more over the shoulder when you dive in. And again, same thing with this camera movement is in the same direction as the character. So you're fighting, you're kind of like eating into the momentum that you're getting. So if the camera stays, delays a little bit, Spider-Man zoops in, hits him, the camera like pulls in after the fact, and then he jumps off, you'll help sell the force of your action a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a great note. If you want to see really good examples of like cameras like slightly missing almost, or like needing to catch up to a character, like nature documentaries or like race car photography, or things that are like handheld cameras of people capturing really fast footage, are great examples of seeing that the thing barely push off the edge of the camera, but then the cameraman catching up to them and then overshooting a bit, because they don't have the predictive, they don't have it in their brain of where they're going. So if you want some reference points, those are good places to look. Awesome note, Adam. Alex in chat is also typing some notes because we've got a big group here. So Alex Ferreira is sitting right here. Alex, give us a wave one more time. That's the guy, Alex Ferreira in chat, if you want to take a look at that. Really great notes about overall posing. Who's next?
I can go over a few of the poses just because I mentioned like just push the poses. Like basically, for example, this slide here, you see how the silhouette is not very clear, and you could definitely get more graphical. If you watch the trailer, you see how this style is like super graphical of this movie. So you need to really sculpt the silhouette of the character. And like for example, here there's like a tangent of the hand and the head. And then here again, you could get all of the silhouette with the notes on the camera that Adam just said. And this pose as well, you can really have maybe the knee out here. Getting more of like clearer shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone else can jump in?
Yeah, I had one note kind of in this section. You're going through it now. Specifically when he's kind of landing and jumping off the guy, kind of like go through it. I feel like right now, the timing feels pretty consistent in that he kind of gets the guy and jumps off immediately after. I think because I feel like this is basically his like most powerful attack on the guy. It's like so powerful he pushes him back in space. So I feel like if you want to add that power, like contrast and timing is something that's like really good in this sense where if you have him like shoot on there really quick, he like might stick on there and then shoot off really quick. I think that's gonna make it feel like a much more powerful push off as opposed to getting on then getting off immediately after that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was my main note about this sort of whole section as well. I also think you're missing like a possible like super Spider-Man-y character moment right here. Like if you have him stick to this bully's sort of chest, I don't know what kind of like facial expressions you can actually get from this guy, but leaning a little bit more into like stronger, sassier Spider-Man posing, you could really have him like eye to eye with this guy and have, you know, him like wide-eyed angry guy as he's getting kicked off of, and like be able to like lean into that moment of like the tension of these cords of the spider webs and him sort of pushing away from it and having like this face-to-face moment. It gets like that Spider-Man sassy character into it, and then if you take more timing away, like even if you kept like I think the overall length of the shot seems right, but all of these moments happen sort of they have the exact same amount of time and care. So take frames away from how long it takes him to get all the way through this thing and land, and have him stick closer on his chest for a little bit longer, get to a pose in the air here faster. And like Alex was saying, like you kind of have a couple awkward angles through here, like clean up the line of action so it feels really smooth and graceful like Spider-Man does, and then land so quickly and into like the most nimble, the most dynamic pose that you possibly can. Whereas right now this feels very relaxed compared to everything. We're sort of like losing his eyes into his shoulder even. Like I would expect like this hand might come out in like that classic kind of Spider-Man-y way that I can't do. But he feels unready, and I feel like he should have like a little bit more tension throughout sort of this landing zone. But overall, I think your reel is super successful in showing like a nice variety of pieces. And thank you so much for sharing it with us today. I'm going to move us right along. Can we please? Does anybody have any final like last minute one-liner things before I go to the next reel? Great. Thank you so much, Kylie. We really appreciate your submission. Rats in the chat for Kylie. If this is your first time joining us, which apparently there are so many of you, that's a capital RATS. We don't have an emoji. Throw rats, throw hearts. Thank you so much, Kylie, for your submission. All right. Up next. So the next submission, we have two. One is a full portfolio reel. But the first piece, there's like a separate piece that I think is particularly interesting that I think we should be our main focal point because it seems like the current whippy whip for this person. Rats, are you ready? We're looking at Caroline Lavie. It's probably Laville, but maybe Lavie. Oops. All right. So we're going to look at this video right here, which is just a recall. Pretty exciting. I'm going to turn the audio on for the first review. Rats, you ready? You got thumbs up? Let's go. It's a short one, so we're going to listen to it twice. All right. Carolyn. Or Caroline. Oh, that's you, Muryu, in chat. 2 a.m. It must be Lavie. Caroline, because you're in chat with us, let us know. I'm assuming that because this is the first one that you have in your reel, that this is your primary, what you'd like the most focus on. I should have asked Kylie that too. But I think this seemed like the right thing for this group. Rats, any thoughts? Well, Muryu, Caroline is waiting to respond to that.
I could say some thoughts. This is really cute. Yeah, like I love the contrasting character of cool, like assassin mixed with just a cat messing with a ball of yarn. I think it's a really cool character to hone in on. So I think you succeeded in creating like a fun to watch, appealing character. I think on some other technical notes, I feel like right now a lot of beats in the animation kind of overlap each other a little bit, and I specifically notice it when the ball of yarn rolls in and then she kind of like bounces down to go and paw at it. I feel like those actions kind of overlap each other, and I think what can help it out is having just a little bit more separation where the ball rolls in. It gives her time to react to it. She's like visualizing, like she sees the ball there, and then she reacts after that, like jumping in the air, going to the ground, pouncing it, and it hitting her face. I think, yeah, just kind of thinking of it in terms of reaction time and kind of separating the timing out a little bit more. I think it's gonna help this piece feel a little bit more natural in terms of progression.
I have a quick note. I think this is again like really cool, and I like the way you try to exemplify her feline behavior through playing with the ball. I think here when she first notices the ball, she throws her weapons towards it, and it kind of made me a little confused because it seemed like she was attacking ball in the beginning. Instead, I kind of would like maybe you're doing this for like placement for her to pick it up afterwards. But I would have thought like maybe she could just like have this attitude where she's like ball, like, and she's like just tosses her weapons to the side or something, because it just feels like it's perhaps to the direction of the ball. I'm not sure if anyone else is getting that feeling, but
I agree. I feel like some of the actions feel pretty disconnected in a way, or at least you have a couple different pieces that feel like they could be more thematically strung together. One is, okay, she's doing this pose. Is she attacking it? Is she excited about it? Let the ball be the focal point. But then she, like, the ball hits her in the face, but she doesn't, like, really react to it or seem like she's doing, like, a cat-like thing to be like, meow, it hit my nose or something like that. She's just kind of, like, over it. But then it happens so quickly. She, like, slices these bombs from her belt, and that's what causes the foom explosion. But they're also, like, a little ball, and I was like, oh, is she, like, she has her own yarn? And she's like releasing that yarn because the other one got away. And it almost feels like the thing that rolls in like could be one of these bombs on her belt or something like that. And then like when it hits her face, it breaks open and doesn't actually work, or like something to tie in some of these like rounder shapes. And if she's going to cut these things off of her belt, having them be, you know, really obviously that purple color, so that when she turns around, or like, I know this would be, you know, a little bit in post, but having them clearly like have some kind of like glowing magical like properties to them. So when she turns around, you're like, oh, there's something there that she's cutting free. But it just feels like there's a couple ideas here that can kind of be connected in a more interesting way of her relationship to spherical objects and how she reacts to them.
I didn't have anything super critical to say. I just had some positive things to say. Already, I will say this is there's a lot of like setup homeworky stuff here that I think is working really well. Like having your own VFX there, having the prop, and then also having the recall circle. Like I remember I did my art test, and I had none of that stuff. And yeah, so I think that's and also the time. I think it was 240. So this is under 8 seconds as well. So there's a lot of like good building blocks, I think, for this animation that are good for, I guess, focusing on, you know, trying to like a league style animation. And I did want to just say, I saw you had some questions in like your sync sketch about like what you what to see, I guess, or what we'd like to see for if you were applying for like an internship. And I think the biggest things I would say is you're on the right like track with a recall and just focusing on other parts of the kit for champs. So that would be like auto attacks, skills, and recall and emotes, because those are, and you could probably do a run and an idle. Those are like the main core parts of the kit. All the other stuff like death and channel and stuff like that aren't really to emphasize. So just focusing on those other ones, I think, will make your reel stand out a lot. So
yeah, great notes, and thanks for noticing the question in the comments there. I remember pulling that when I was like, oh, I gotta check that out when I grabbed this thing sketch, and I forgot to read it. So thanks, JT. Anybody else? Thoughts?
I have another kind of general thought. This is super cute, and I absolutely love it. I feel that you can even lean further into the, like, if she's a cat, like, person, I think that every action, especially in this limited amount of time that you have, should scream out cat. And I think this jump could, like, if you can make it a little bit more feline-esque, would benefit the piece entirely a lot. Right now it feels a little like froggish, like, and then now it turns into a cat when she like comes down on it and starts playing with the ball. But if there's anything you can do to make the jump feel a little more cat-like, I think you could benefit a lot from that in the storytelling wise. On my overall note, I guess.
You're muted.
I am muted.
Okay, now you're not.
Great. So specifically with the like League of Legends internship and stuff in mind, the one thing I really feel from the whole piece is that all of your timing feels very grounded and realistic. Like you stuck really close to reference, and I feel like you need about, like, in some cases, easily half as many frames between actions to really sell what you're doing. And pushing the poses and pushing the snappy timings, like, how many frames between these two actions? It's like 19 frames. I'm like, give me 3, maybe 5. really snap into that cross pose and have like a good like bodily reaction from her, get like some twist in the shoulders and the body to show like the force of the action that she just took, and like sort of clean up this. I find this character is incredibly difficult. Every animation I've ever seen with this rig model is challenging because she's got so many bits and bobs. She's got hair, she got big sleeves, she got all this stuff that makes her kind of hard to read. But she also just feels like in this pose in particular, she's kind of bent forward while she's doing it, and then her knees are kind of coming in. And so you kind of, from that isometric view, we're losing all of sort of like the top of her chest. Like if she can sort of hit that pose in such a way where if you're having her bent forward, like you're almost having her point directly at camera, which is only going to make it more difficult for you. Where I almost feel like if you're doing that, then you need this leg sort of way kicked out so you can see something more interesting and like in a lunge if you're doing that. And in almost all cases, even this kind of one, I would want her sort of leaned backwards while she's doing this thing, so that you're exaggerating what the camera can actually see, and you see the coolest bits of her, and it's like the same vibe, but you cater to that camera, and like every action, as few poses as you need, and you're gonna throw these blades up. They kind of like halfway arc outwards, and then they stop. Crank it over the top. She's throwing those blades up before she catches them. They're going to do a 1080. They're going to do a bajillion spins before she catches them again with, you know, some kind of like dope ass effect so that you can see, oh, they're spinning so fast. She threw them so hard. If you're already doing like those kind of hand-drawn effect stuff, like add a little card in Maya so that it like has that sort of sweepy trail piece that you're looking for. Take everything up a notch by like 50 to 100% across the board, and don't be afraid to snap through your strongest poses with like one really, really clear breakdown over 2 frames, 1 frame. I think it'll really, all the bones are there, and like some of the posing stuff like this, like super twinned, like this all feels like getting a little bit more dynamic twist through things and much more dynamic timing, and it'll be right on the mark. We got probably time for one more person to give a couple more notes. Any more final thoughts, feelings, specific loves? Michael Esq. I always forget, Michael, how you wanted me to pronounce that. But Michael in the chat is wondering how you're drawing those hand-drawn effects. So that's one for you, Muryu. I heard somebody unmute.
I unmuted. I was just going to actually say on a positive note that this is an example where like some simple VFX add a lot to the, I mean, just seeing like the element on the ground and the little puff at the end, without that, many of these ideas wouldn't sell. So, but it's also very minimal, so it doesn't get in the way of the animation too much.
Yeah. All right, great note. The last thing I'll say is it stops rotating. Sorry, unnecessary. All right, let's call it there. Thank you, Caroline. Can we get rats in the chat for Caroline? Much appreciate you taking the time to be a part of our community and for submitting your work for us to take a look at today. Hopefully we'll be seeing more of you in the future. Muryu says, I think to end it off, I just want to say that animating for a recall was so much fun compared to the feature and TV. This is so expressive and extreme, and I loved it all the way. Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. I'm glad that you had fun. All right, rats. Up next in animation with no name. Oh, sorry, no name attached by the animator. But we will be taking a look at Goblin for the Rat, which I just love as a concept.
Well, it says Lucas.
Oh, it does? Where?
Ruidel. Up there in the name.
I only see
after Goblin
Oh,
attack.
that's so nice. I've never thought to look at the Sing sketch user. I only see review Goblin for the Rat and then Goblin Attack 0000-0251 MP4.
And then
But you're
Mendel
right.
in chat says, "Hey, that's me."
Oh, what's up, Mendel? Lucas called out. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I think it's the first time we've had 100% hit ratio of people whose reels are reviewing and people in chat. Love it. Love to see it. Rats, are you ready with Lucas's Goblin Attack for the Rat? Thumbs ups. All right. Audio. I don't think there is audio for this one.
I just gotta say that hip action, yo.
He's feeling
This
it.
is super fun. I love it.
It is.
And it's a cute rig and model as well.
Mm.
Like a appropriately nasty looking little guy.
I think this is a successful animation. My overall note is that sometimes your wrists look pretty locked, and I'd recommend that. I know that the sword is parented to the hand, but that does not mean that necessarily after you hit it, you can't change the position of the grip to make it feel a little bit more relaxed when he's pulling it off the ground. So right there, yeah, it's just like kind of like it looks like it's a little broken and locked in place. And I feel that you can change the grip of the hand to sort of alleviate that a little bit. And even the hand on the ground when he's flopping around, if there's anything you can do to not have that sort of look so pixel locked into place, I think it would benefit from it because it's a little bit distracting.
For me, yeah, I think the animation is successful as well, especially the idol I really like. The things that jump out at me are the context where I'm not sure if this is the game view of the asset. And with that being said, what this animation is for, these animations are for, I think the success depends on what type of game this is targeted to. Like a more real-time action game, I don't think the attack is as successful because there's such a long anticipation where he kind of like hops into it. But if it's something like I don't think TFT, but I know there's like even mobile games and stuff where they have like, if it's turn-based, I could easily see this, or tactics-based, I could easily see this being like an attack or like a strong attack or something, a special attack. So yeah.
Or if this is an enemy in the game, then it's telegraphing that it's going to attack, so you can have time to move out of the way. So depending on what it is, I agree with JT's note.
So I wanted to talk. I mean, I agree with all the notes so far. This is like very cute, fun idea. I wanted to talk a little bit about like the balance and the hop forward. So I like the idea, and I get what you're going for here as far as like the character kind of hopping forward and being a little bit off balance, but it's not quite capturing the like off balance and slightly out of control nature of it. And I think that it mostly has to do with, okay, well, I'm going to talk through like what actually like puts you off balance for a second. So like to be off balance, you have to convince me that the character's weight is moving in one direction that is countering the direction the character is moving, so that he feels like he's slightly going to fall backwards. So to achieve that look, I think what you actually need to do here is, as this character is like hippy hopping forward in this direction, the body and the sword need to still continue to be moving in this direction slightly. So I think it might be just as simple as like, as you're hopping forward, that kind of like by the time he gets to here, he's more like kind of back a little bit more, and the arms maybe down here, and the sword's like really kind of got back here out of control a little bit, so that it feels like he can catch himself. You can see how even just like kind of drawing this pose, his if you kind of like draw where his center of gravity is, he's a little off balance here, and then with the weight of the sword out here, he's getting like really off balance, and he's gonna really need to then like on the next frame kind of yank himself forward to like catch his momentum, right? And so I think those are kind of the two things that's missing is one, the upper body being countered against the direction he's moving, and then that moment when he catches himself, because like you actually have that like before he does the actual attack, he goes back in that direction again. So I have like a moment where he kind of like actually catches himself forward a little bit before this final anticipation. So you can have him kind of like it catches himself and then right. And I think like those things combined will really help sell the kind of like off balance nature of this that you're trying to go for. And the nice thing is that it's like not much different than what you have. It's like, yeah, I feel like you can just kind of like tweak the poses in there a little bit to achieve that. And then the other tiny, just subtle thing I was going to say is that he feels his body, this sword, and this leg feel a little bit stiff. I guess maybe not this leg, but more, I guess this one, the body and the arm, feel a little bit stiff when he's hopping forward. If you hop forward on one leg, you need to like cushion out quite a bit. So I'd love to see like that on the poses where he hits the ground, you actually see him like, squash down a little bit and his head kind of comes down here and you get like a little bit of an arm bend or something there. So you get a little bit more of this kind of feel to it. And it'll just make the whole body feel like a little bit looser and a little bit more organic, and will also help control that, like, I think what that kind of chaotic feel you want in this windup. So,
yeah, to go with what Skylar's saying, I would definitely try shooting reference up yourself, doing exactly what Skylar's saying, and kind of using that as a good like point to actually put that into your animation.
Yeah, I agree. You have like a couple things that will sort of help with that. I also think the foot doesn't really push off. It's almost completely flat the whole time, which like you got to have a little bit of like that sort of contact of the actual force of the muscles, like springings to get that spring feeling. The one thing I will say about this is it's without going over what Skylar said, this action also feels like so. I thought the hops might have been like intentional, where because he comes up and he feels quite balanced at the top and then he hops twice forwards. I'm like, is that just like he's hopscotching for it and that's part of his character? In which case, if you're going to do that, I would just let him hop so much further forward so it seems like, and like connect it more with this attack. Or if he's going to step back, actually, no matter what, he kind of just rocks up onto this foot in the exact same placement that it was. So whether he's off balance or not, moving that foot between that attack will sort of force you to connect these two sort of ideas in a way that right now he comes up and it's almost like he hits a yoga pose and then he's like, huh? Like a threat, like, you want the real thing? And then he kind of chops down. I would just have him either step back a lot further if it's like an intentional thing and then he's kind of falling forward the whole time, or just let him drive a lot further forward during the attack. If you can. Also, we did get context from Mendel that this was an art test for a turn-based game. This is a very lame note. I mean, the arm really locks out here, and then it like unlocks out. I know we talked about the wrist already, but the whole thing feels really IK, especially because I don't know if you have a shoulder control. I don't feel like tension actually being applied to this shoulder as much as I feel like I could, or if he was really pulling it, I feel like we'd feel him pulling with that shoulder and not just necessarily yanking with his body, but I'd expect some movement on the clavicle through this moment. And very lame note, if you had like a ground plane or something to show that this sword is actually stuck in the ground somehow. It's like stuck, but we can still see the whole sword. And that's a very lame, again, just presentational note, but I think it would be effective to sort of like have this, actually buried while it's under here so that you know that it's stuck. And maybe it is, and I'm just crazy. No, that's not the whole thing. It just needs a little bit of something. And then finally, for me, just this pull out of the ground here. he kind of swings it wide and we really lose the profile of it. I almost feel like I'd want to keep seeing it like a little bit longer so that we can see where it came from, and then kind of have it whip outwards after it gets to the back. But like even 2 frames out of this thing, he's already swinging it around wide again. And I think that you can sort of bring the whole thing, get it a little cleaner, keep this pointing the direction that it came for that really clear line of action. And flick less, maybe a little bit less through the wrist here. I always like seeing really clean arm shapes through the wrist, because that thing would be so heavy if like, and it's like keeping him off balance as much as you can get that smooth wrist through elbow line. And then all of this is sort of happening at the same time through this. Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts here for Lucas?
I think overall, I just want to say, I feel like mechanical notes in mind. I feel like the character is definitely reading for this. Is definitely clear. Like there's a lot of intentionality behind like the acting choices for this weird little goblin character that I love. So yeah, just wanted to say I like that this feels like his own kind of attack.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Well, everybody, can we get rats in the chat so you can even ats Mendel, whose piece this is? Thank you so much for your submission. Much appreciated. Really great work. Moving right along. Up next, rats. We have the big pink title card. You see it? Got the audio turned on. Rats, are you ready with Joseph's demo reel? All right, let's keep on keeping on. And I think I mentioned it before, and I think you can tell if you're just joining us, we're doing demo reel reviews. If you do have questions or thoughts, or if this is your reel, let us know in the chat so that we can ask you questions and we'll answer yours as well. Let's go with Joseph. We are back to full reel territory. So rats, overall reel notes first for Joseph.
My thought before Skylar steals it is just feeling a little bit long, the reel, and this piece is the weakest for me. I don't know what you want to showcase here. I think the other pieces are showcasing better, same skills. And overall, it's feeling a little bit long. I know you're generalist, so you want to show like the rigging and stuff, but I might split an animation reel and a generalist reel and just show animation pieces, not show all together. Because animation, if you look at this in animation, you might skip forward and miss some parts because you're just looking at things that you're not interested in. But those are the 2 overall notes on this. I think the mechanics here are not as good as the other pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, kind of going off of that, is I feel like there are a lot of pieces that sort of cover the same kind of skill set that you've shown in a different piece. Like there's a lot of idle walk and runs, and I feel like for a demo reel, you kind of want to show off the best version of an idle walk and a run that you have. So I think that there are certain things that you can cut off in order to just kind of show the best of the best of the work that you have.
Yeah, going with it, I think to me, I think the most successful one is this one. It has the most like exaggeration. I think it's the most fun. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And yeah, I think with what everybody's saying is shortening the reel, switching it to an animation reel. Well, I guess coming from that perspective, if you did split it, shortening it and just showing your best shots, and that's it. And you'd be surprised, I think, with how short your reel can be, and it still be taken seriously as a reel. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely am at the point now where I'm like, oh, a demo reel. I'm like, 2 minutes. And I know 2 minutes used to be like the sweet spot. 2-minute demo reel. Now I'm like, oh, come on. I think this is a contender for one of the weaker pieces on your reel because it's up for so long and it's really not showing a lot and it is so slow. Also, Sleep Rats in the chat is is Joseph. Welcome, Joseph. Thank you so much. I think especially because your first piece is so strong, like you're showing off, you're like, okay, and you have that idol in it already. So this idol's
That's
already
exactly what I was going to say. You already have it in there in the beginning.
This idol's here, and then maybe like for the sake of this, you'd actually want to adjust the idol so you can sort of actually see the silhouette a little bit better. But there's like a little bit of interest, like visual interest with like some effect thing you have going on. Looks like hand-drawn little effects there. Cool, magical katanas that come out and then settle in, and then you go into that idol. I would return to that idol a lot cleaner because you have like a little drift in the arms and the whole body there. But otherwise, like you've shown it off. I would cut this one entirely. So maybe you can lose both because you already have examples of both of them in your reel. But I love these characters. I just want to shout that out. This idol is up for a long time too. This is such a cute little walk. And then being like, oh, and you rigged it too. I do think that was a nice little moment. And modeled it. Responsible for all aspects. Sleep Rats. Triple Threat. Yeah, really lovely, unique characters. I love seeing unique characters in real.
Yeah, they made me smile when I saw them. So excellent little
These
guys and gals.
Awesome. I think for doing unique stuff with these characters, instead of an idol, what would be really cool to see with this one is maybe like a assembling of the, like if all the bones were in the ground and it assembled itself and then it started walking, that would be kind of unique. Or maybe like something bops it on the head and the head sort of falls and it sort of crumples down or something unique that you could do with your character that you modeled yourself and rigged and everything. Just have something unique with it, because the posing that you have and just the overall character is just super special, that I think you can just kind of run with this one and you can show way more than just an idol on it, because there's
Small note for this one, since we're on the skeleton one, I could be wrong on this, but is the frame rate lower for the skeleton one? I feel, at least on my end, it seems like it's like half the amount of frames as like all the other animations.
It does have a different vibe to it. Is that intentional, Sleep Rats? Is this guy at put it on twos? Nice, intentional. All right. Any more overall rig notes before we pick a piece?
I have absolutely nothing constructive to say, but I was looking at when it does the overlay of the rigging stuff for the little bone dude, and then you see the knee pointers going like shake, 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 shake. I thought that was really funny because all of my knee pointers are always like that to get the knees to look good. So it's funny.
Yeah,
just empathizing.
I felt that left knee in my own bones. Probably the last thing I'd say, I mean, we talked a bit about it in the sense that like what you have to sort of take out because it's pretty long. I do think that you could do with something that has a little bit more dynamic body mechanics if you wanted to really diversify your reel and show what you were capable of. Something that sort of pushes the body a little bit more. Like this one is pretty cool, but it is like an instant, like there's like one frame in there and then it cuts through, which is what makes it so clean. But something that shows that you can really like throw a rig around a scene with some amount of realistic or interesting weight and timing, I think would really enhance your reel and is a piece that I feel like is objectively missing from it. All right. What piece would you like to feedback on? Or honestly, Sleep Rats, because you're here, what piece would us giving feedback on be the most helpful if you want? But now, of course, we need to wait for the delay. Oh, gosh, says Sleep Rats.
Oh, I apologize. You do have a coming out from the grave animation. Whoopsie doodles. Sorry.
All right. Sleep Rats requests the first piece, please. Maybe we should have people request which one in the future they want us to look at.
I was curious, from you guys, what do you guys think about in a game reel having non-game-ish pieces, I guess, or like more cutscene-y type stuff? Is there a consensus or positive or negative?
Well, let's answer that question and then we'll finish the review. Rats? Thoughts?
If it looks cool, keep it. That's my.
Ooh, cool, my guy.
Yeah, the way
Yeah.
I would think of, please.
Go ahead, Christopher, and then Vanessa.
Okay, sorry. The way I would think about it is classifying sort of the purpose of it. Like if you have enough pieces on your demo reel that show that you can think from the same problem space as like a game dev in terms of like the genre that you're working with, then if there's other pieces that are more cinematic that show off that you can animate, like your application of fundamentals and stuff, I think it's fine to have all that. I mean, obviously I would say if it's all cinematics and no game stuff, then usually game studios will have a hard time understanding that you understand how to adapt a lot of your knowledge for that space. But I don't think there's anything inherently bad about having a plethora of different stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, at least I know on Valorant we have people of all skill levels apply all the time, and the reels are very varied. And sometimes we'll get like really talented people with more cinematic stuff. And honestly, if it looks cool, like we're not really gonna dock you on that. But however, if you're kind of newer and you're just trying to put like a little bit of everything, we kind of do press a little bit further on the gameplay stuff more than the cinematic side. So it's what I've been able to tell anyway.
Yeah, I will add that a lot of times for teams, if they're a little bit unsure of whether or not they think you plug in pretty well, they'll probably send a test. If like for me, when I was applying for Riot, they said that, oh, you have stuff that works really well. You're missing maybe like 2 things that sort of work for League. Let's just test you on that, and then you spend a little bit of time just showing them that you can do it. So
Yeah, same happened to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Cool. Great question, JT. Love a good discussion. Let's take a look at this first piece in Joseph's reel. Who has some thoughts and notes?
Yeah, I was just looking through. I was framing through it. I don't know if you use reference for this or not, but I think pushing the poses more and getting some more mechanics, like that left foot just slides forward, the right foot stays planted. So if you're going to do like a throw like that, you're probably going to at least pivot the right toe. And then this same thing, the knee is locking out and it slides forward, and then the left foot doesn't really move. And it rotates on the heel. We usually rotate on the toe. And then I think you just push that some more. It goes from the overshoot into kind of a cast, but you can probably just get a bigger, just breakdown, and then just bigger poses is kind of what I'm saying. It's like that throw, and then here, and then this is just kind of, I guess it looks like it's just kind of blending to the hit, but it looks like you can go from here into the grab, like just break it down here and then grab, get into the pose for the antic. Oops. And then this is just hard to see. And then this thing too, that right foot is really plastered. It's not really moving at all. So it looks like you're kind of just moving the rig around and not the foot or the body. And even on this, you could probably get that front foot in or go down and forward and either push off of that front foot or get a better push off from the back foot, because right now this character can't really do that. They're kind of being pulled forward and not really peeling off the ground with that back foot. Like this is a cool, like that pose is neat, dynamic, and then end more forward, not upright. Get those arms back super far. They look like they're all like on a 0 to or 1 to 10. They're all kind of a 4 or a 5. Like really push it to 11, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think especially because like she's wearing a bunch of armor and she's clearly quite stoic, and I think that coming with that territory of being like she's stoic, she's serious, she's straightforward. It's almost reflecting too much in the body when somebody who's like really serious about their craft and they're clearly able to like move with incredible athleticism, they would use all of the tools at their disposal, aka all of their muscles, to make sure that they are throwing these things with incredible force and wielding her body with incredible force. So making sure that is reflected. I talk a lot about like, can you picture what muscles are flexing and how hard they're flexing when they're doing this ability? And that is something that sort of helps ground me understand how to push my poses. So if you're not sure, obviously finding reference is good, but like just physically go, and what is in your most extreme body that you could move your way you could move your body if you were to throw that thing. Think about how she would pull her muscles around in order to get into that pose. And as always, especially if you're going to have a clean read, a static camera like this, just give yourself the cleanest possible silhouette. Her legs are really over top of each other here, and I'm not going to do a good draw of her, so I'm just going to erase that and say her legs are covering each other. Anyway, great notes, Kevin. Excellent notes, Kevin.
I just do have one small note. Here towards the end, you kind of have her do this transition from this to, oh, let me just play. Just see that she's kind of like wide stance. It's kind of like a very mid pose as we wait for the swords to do their spin. Be kind of cool if you hit that pose, like her body to be something like more dynamic, more straight, like she's like straightened up and like ready to receive her swords, and like as they like kind of like shoot back into her her scabbards. Thank you, Lana. I don't know sword terms. Into her scabbards, and then like once like it hits in like sort of with a strong finish, then she can transition back into her idle pose. Because like right now it's just kind of like just like twinning going on here. Maybe just kind of like play with shapes to have her be like more straight or just more dynamic. Just play around with it a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing to sort of think about, especially in this last part here, is that you could sort of like what's motivating the magic that she's doing, because right now she just sort of brings her hand forward, but it'd be kind of cool if it were like a hand motion that did that, or something inside of her that would communicate, oh, I'm wielding these weapons. So if you do like something with the hands that sort of communicate that she's the one doing that power, maybe a cooler hand pose or something other than just bringing the hands up, I think could just help you out a little bit on selling the magic of it.
Yeah, I agree. Like you have some kind of hand pose here, but because she's sort of stuck in that like how you have to make a bendy limbed action figure stand to freestand like on your desk is kind of the vibe I get here. like something a little bit more casual, like you can give like a little bit of contrapost in there, have her sort of twist her body for it, and have this hand posed really clearly, like pointing at the weapons or just doing everything you can to like sort of twist her body away and make this the focal point, if that's what's sort of driving that moment. I think would be good. Nice. Yeah, the overhand kind of
Something
hand
like
out.
that. Yes.
Cool. All right. Any other craft notes for Joseph, aka Sleep Rats?
My only other general note, I think, is you already exemplified, I think, in your walk cycles that you have a good sense of understanding of how weight transfers from foot to foot. So I think along Kevin's sort of like feedback around the feet placement and stuff, I think there's opportunity to also layer in a lot more vertical displacement with your root. You have a little bit of going from the stance into the idle, but I think right now a lot of it is translating in one plane across this area. So for a lot of your antics and then moving out of them, you can always do a little bit more of this up down to really show like grounded low stance and then more relaxed standing ones.
Can I go in off of that really quick? I feel like that can also be said for the spine as well. I feel like a lot of it is mostly like rotation in this direction. I think it'd be good to kind of throw in some like compression for some of the anticipations and then like more straight when she's like flinging the swords forward.
Yeah, so when you say this direction, you mean she rotates a lot this way, but she doesn't have a lot of like actually bending the torso like in this direction.
Yeah, exactly.
These shapes. Hot take. I think that you don't need to have the character return back to idle, especially when we were talking about how to improve the sheath pose. I think you could just leave it there, to be honest, and just strike a really strong pose and not even worry about returning to idle. So, could save you some time as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I gotta run. Sorry.
All right. Bye,
That was
Kevin.
fun.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right,
Rats
later.
in the chats for Kevin, everybody. Thanks for swinging by. The last little note that I'll give before we move to our next review. And this is a very lame note, as always. But she clearly is a face rig, unless she's modeled this way. But she keeps that same expression the whole time, baby. Maybe she has a really subtle difference here. She maybe squints, or maybe it's just pixel buzz. Either way, I think you have some wiggle room to move her face around a bit, especially through this end bit. She's very action figure-y, just like action figure-y. All right. Overall, super, super cool reel and super awesome generalist powers there, Joseph. We love to see it. Rats in the chat for Joseph. Thank you so much for submitting your reel. We so appreciate you being a part of this community, baby. All right. What time is it? 6:13. Okay, we probably have time for one more demo reel. We got this. Now I got the hot tip. This is not just real _2023_April-plus in caps lock. This is from Sol Merez. And we're gonna check it out. Volume up. Rats, are you ready? Awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, jeez. Was that actually the end? It was. Sorry.
It was bonus.
Oh, the audio really just threw me. Oh, that's great. I believe this is Soltex in the chat, which is amazing. I feel like we've seen work from you before, and I haven't seen any of this before, so you must be moving like lightning. Awesome, awesome stuff. We love to see it. All right, Rats. Rats, let's give overall real feedback for the whole thing. And in the meantime, Soltex, you tell us which piece you would prefer. Oh, see, there is more. What happened? Oh, no, that was a bonus. Don't worry about it. My brain's off. Which piece that you prefer our specific feedback on, that would help you the most. All right, Rats. Overall notes.
I mean, I'll give I mean, this reel was like very fun. It like made me smile. I don't know why there's some like just like goofy stuff in it. And I think one of the things I like is particularly on this turtle stuff. I mean, I said like kind of laugh out loud at that jump. There's something about it that's like so responsive, and it feels like a jump I'd see in a game in like the 90s for some reason. I don't know. I mean, I'm not even saying that in a bad way. It's got that like responsive gooiness to it that I actually feel like a lot of modern games lose and don't have, because they're just trying to make like such good animation that they lose that like instant gratification kind of animation. These animations here in this turtle guy all have those kind of vibes. And that just like stood out to me, something I like. And I think the interesting thing, my note kind of for the whole reel, is that I kind of want to see more of that in some of the other animations. Because when I like look at this animation, for example, I know the kind of vibe is that it's like a little bit more fluid, but it feels almost like slow and underwater a little bit. And I'm missing some of that like tightness of the spacing that highlight the actions, because you can still do the like long kind of languid like action, but I kind of want like a little bit of like a snap at the end of it that you really captured in some of those like turtle animations. So, and also showing the stuff in game, like that is great for real. Like it was really nice to like see the animations and then the actual application of them in game all in the same reel. So
I will say that the motion blur is a little hot in the in-game stuff.
it's default Unreal, baby.
Woo! Cool.
Yeah, I was Skyler stole my note again, the note stealer. But I was gonna suggest for everything except for maybe this one and end of this one and this guy and the turtle. If you play, I'm gonna up the frame speed here and then it's gonna instantly look a little bit better, just because I feel that some of your pieces are a little floaty. And a trick that I usually do if it starts feeling floaty is that I'll just up the frame rate, and if it looks a little bit better, then I know that I need to speed my animation up so that it looks a little bit better. So that's playing at 1.5 speed there. I'm gonna put it back to regular. That's sort of like a little safety valve you can use of, is my animation slow? And then you just play it a little bit faster, and if it looks better, then you know that you got to accelerate a little bit.
Yeah, I actually love that sword gun combo sped up. It's like so snappy and cool. So.
All right, so if there were a weakest piece in the reel, I think it's this one for me, for sure. I think it's like thematically there because it's the end of your reel. Oh, the reel's dying, and there's like some bonus zaniness happening. But I don't think this one is like showing off enough by way of like animation skill. And it's like a pretty long shot of her dying. And then her hood disappears halfway through. So there's like a bug in it. But no matter what, the whole thing, I feel like if you're going to have a death in your reel, make it something like really impactful. Oh, you like flew back 20 feet and tumbled into a ball, but kind of like an overall just kind of collapse into a pose. I don't think you're showcasing enough cool stuff with this. and then it sort of takes the wind out of the sails of the reel to me. Which obviously you put like some craziness at the end of it, which is silly and sort of has that energy to it. But as far as raw animation chops that you're showcasing, sorry, her hood died too. That's funny. It just feels diminishing at the end of the reel. The death feels like it. Adrian B says the death feels like it's transitioning to ragdoll to me. Is that what's happening? Only Soltex can answer that one.
So it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like she's just reaching for a potion at the end of her death. And that's why maybe like she's like reaching for it right there.
Oh, this perfectly tangent, same color red bottle on the table floor? Yeah. Just get this tangent out of here. Come on. Come on.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, good eye, Vanessa, and also Soltex. Because you're in the chat so much, you start getting into the sass zone. Soltex, you're better than this. You're better than this.
Yes, but I sadly agree. I think that your reel would benefit of maybe swapping this out for a new, fresh piece.
I like the variation you tried to tackle with it, though. A death animation is always cool to have in a reel. Just maybe this one in particular doesn't suit your current reel.
Agreed. All right. Any final overall notes here? And then we've got the request to talk about the cinematic piece at the beginning. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's great having stuff in game. I think it's a great showcase and definitely puts you in that category of like, I'm a gameplay animator. I would just be careful with implementation stuff where you can get caught up with not having the implementation skills to show off your animation skills. I know in the job there is like, unless you are somebody who's really, really good at implementing stuff or doing the technical side of animation hookups and stuff like that, it's usually multiple people kind of working together. So just make sure that whatever you put in game looks as good as it is in Maya, or before you cut it up in the clips and stuff, as good as it looks in Maya, because it'd just be a shame to like have it hook up and it looks worse than it does in Maya. But yeah.
I was actually curious about this little flippy attack you have, which out of context looks a bit odd because I'm not sure like what pose it's coming from, and it looks like it's landing in maybe an idol. But as many of us know in gameplay, something like this in Maya might look quite good in game, depending on the context and like how quickly it comes out. Maybe you need to shave off the startup frame. And I would have loved to see this in your little gameplay demo, like maybe it comes out of this jump or something like that. Just to see like that you're making those thoughts for the sake of gameplay, not just for all the animation must be perfect at all stages, you know?
It's interesting what JT is saying about because I would hot take. I kind of really enjoy watching stuff in game of animators. It's refreshing. It's something that not everybody is willing to put the legwork in to do. So I feel I really appreciate that you're putting in the legwork of learning how to put it in game, to know what the pieces are for. It's relevant to the context of, what you're going to eventually be doing for the job. So I find it positive if you stick your stuff in game. I think and you seem to, I can see that you're enjoying doing it, which I like a lot. That's definitely a positive for me.
Something that I've seen. Oh,
nope, Vanessa, you
go. To add on to that, something that I've seen before, and I think you do it a little bit here, is that you put the original animation in the corner, and then you're displaying that you know how to put it in Engine, and that's cool. I think that's cool that you display it. I almost feel like it kind of pops up at a random moment, though. So just I almost missed it, but I do appreciate that you try to display both. And I have seen it before, but I'm not sure what an animator's preferences as far as like review time goes. If it's like that's a good format or if it's not, but I have seen this before, just not in such brevity.
I feel like with what you have here, I mean, I almost feel like because like this world that you're showcasing is so plain and we really want to see the animations, like to sort of both Brendan, sort of to JT, Brendan, and Vanessa's points, I love seeing it in game, but like with any demo reel, it's a matter of kind of balance. Oh, also, I'm such a fool. I forgot to transition. This is the moment that Vanessa was talking about with this thing popping up really quickly. I had the wrong screen showing up. Sorry, Adrian. I'm sorry. To speak to all those 3 points, everything in balance. You know, you want to be able, you want to be able to really clearly see the animations, and if all of your animations are in the default motion blur setting of Unreal, and we can't really see the animations, but we can see that you hooked it up. Well, that's more of an implementation showcase than it is your demo reel. We still want to be able to see your animations for their quality, and especially without motion blur. When I'm looking at a demo reel and things are really motion blurred to hell, I'm like, what are you hiding? What are you scared of? Let me see your frames. And then when it comes to implementation or gameplay, like having that implementation piece, I agree that I love seeing it. But in this case, I almost feel like rather than needing to showcase these teeny tiny pieces here that are part of this game that feel a little bit silly out of context, I almost would flip what you have in this frame so that you would actually have the animation, which is the part we're looking at, bigger. And then you'd have up here, this is the Unreal. So we can look at the Unreal side, and it's there, it's possible. If it's looking really amazing in Unreal, make Unreal be the showcase. If you're just showing that it is hooked up and feels pretty good in Unreal, make Unreal the picture-in-picture window, and let what's playing here like showcase your cool animation stuff that you're doing for the sake of that. I think that's kind of the best of both worlds when you want to showcase all of it. The other thing I would say, and I'm actually curious again to all y'all animators, but the thing I say a lot is if you really want to show something off as a part of your submission to a company or something like that, doing a little picture-in-picture thing that focuses the Unreal side up there, but having a separate reel that is like right there next to the other reel that recruiters might look at or hiring managers might look at. As a hiring manager myself, if you show me a reel and I'm like, oh, here's my gameplay animation reel, and right next to it is my gameplay implementation reel, I will watch both every time. I won't stop at the one of them. And so making like another big... Sorry, I just read Alex's comment. My current reel is just a 2-minute motion blur. It's very funny. Make both. Same thing with like the generalist stuff. Oh, you really want to show off that you have modeling chops too, or like concept chops? If you really have them, put them in a separate reel. And then if you don't really have them, whoever's looking at your stuff will be like, oh, well, that's a separate reel. They clearly knew that this shouldn't belong in this. And you're sort of covered on either way. Because no matter what, I'll check it out. And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if it's separate. And I will praise you for it if I wanted to see both. So that is the best way that I would present it personally. Yeah. But I don't know. Am I the only person? I saw a lot of nods. If you see 2 reels and it says implementation reel and animation reel, do you watch both? Or are you like, I only have time for one?
I would just watch one. But I like the idea of having separate. I like also having on the main reel just like implementation stuff, because I do think it adds on the skill, and like hiring managers are always very, very busy, and they have like 50 reels open, and they're just gonna go to what the recruiter sends and like watch it, go to the next. So it's nice to have like showcase that you also do implementation or you show your stuff in game.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of having both, but I think there's also a nice way to present implementation animation on the reel that doesn't look confusing and doesn't look like it's just, oh, this focusing on implementation. It's actually focusing on animation, like what Skylar was saying in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
like basic mistakes of the run sliding and things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, obviously I'm not a hiring manager, but if I watch a reel and it's great, but like I want for more, like I don't mind watching another reel. That would
I'm in
be
the same boat as Vanessa, same as especially if the hiring manager puts reels in front of us to watch, and I enjoy somebody's work, I'll go and snoop to see what else they have. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, so we're running a little bit long here, so let's go back to the review and sort of finish up with some craft feedback for this cinematic piece right at the tippy top. I'll bookmark it quickly for everybody. Ciao. And I heard somebody unmute.
Me. First impressions on this one is I kind of don't know where she's looking at while she looks like she's looking kind of off in the distance while she's performing some of her actions, like shooting at these dudes. Like here, I can't stop it. Like here's like where's like I kind of want to see her looking at sort of what she's shooting at, or maybe it's deliberately knowing like here she's sort of like looking at the distance instead of following this dude around, and for some reason that's just becoming a little bit distracting throughout the whole piece, that just her eyes don't seem like they're following what she's doing.
Yeah, I was gonna give the same note. Overall, like I'd go even one step further than the eyes. It feels like you're not really using either of like the eyelid controllers, so it's not like helping her to like actually come up with facial expressions that kind of make sense. But also, she doesn't actually feel like if this guy's right in front of her, her eyes are going to be closer together, versus like straight out. She's like looking through him. But across the board, I would extend that like your facial poses, like I see the character you're trying to create, but it's way too pushed in a way that seems like it's really breaking her face. And especially with some of these darker shadows, it makes it really difficult to read. I'm like, what is that? Is that the gun? Oh, that's her tongue that's still sticking out. Especially if you're like wanting her facial expressions to be a big part of this character and what she's like doing through here. Like, I feel like you gotta cheat a little bit more for that face so that we're seeing a little bit more of what you're into, of what you're showcasing here, and hold the face a little bit steadier for longer so that we can actually see, hold her face steadier. Like, even if the camera's moving, try and hold the face in the same, like almost the same position for a couple frames so we can actually read the expressions that you're trying to make through the action, because it moves so quickly and it's so pushed to like a horrific degree, and she's never blinking, like her eyebrows are never moving, but her tongue is out, is not out. It is very, I find it very distracting from the main action right now. So I would be really considerate, especially when her face is so big and so expressive, and making sure you're being really precise with how you're using that and when you're using it, and making sure it's just as readable as any poses that you're adding in.
I wanted to real quick talk about that gunshot part at the end. She's kind of like pointing over here. I feel like right now it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of power to it. I think that's mostly due to the fact that the pose is kind of static before and after the gunshot. I think kind of having a really quick transition between two dramatically different poses, whether it's like she's pointing and then like immediately goes back, or she goes back and then sort of like shoots forward. Those are just two examples. I think there's other ways that you can implement that, but I think having some kind of fast-paced kind of change in the pose is definitely going to help make that attack seem a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, and I think to add to that too, I mean, this is literally a hand cannon. I would expect that when she shoots it this way, it will push her body back that way. And I just think if you, just how John was kind of mentioning earlier, you could set it up to where she's got, I'm trying with my mouse. I gotta channel my Microsoft these days. Terrible. Well, so just kind of, I would play around with having like a stance where she's kind of ready to brace herself more than anything, right before she shoots, right? And then that way, when she finally does release that energy to vanquish her foe, it'll make sense why she's bracing, and to kind of like brace for that power that's pushing her back. Anyway, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, she seems entirely unaffected by it right now.
Sorry, I mute. Yeah, I feel like there's the main section as well for me, and this pose could also be better, more appealing. And here I have like several ways to play this. She could be more like back here, pointing, like really cool, or she could be more like pointing at his face, like with this line of action. Just pick one and make like a really appealing pose. And then when you come back here, there's also you could definitely get this pose more appealing. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
just to finish in like a cool pose. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think having some contrast there would be good. I know we just drew over this pose like a million times, but if she gets like a cool kind of like, her body's like a little bit more recoiled, and you could even have like one eye really open and one eye kind of like closed, and like really ham up that like she's like really taking really distinct aim at this guy who's like 1 foot in front of her face, and this arm is like straight out, the other one's kind of bracing it even, and you get like this cool kind of pose this way. She's got her finger gun out there. You kind of get like, oh, I was so wacky and like flying through things, like unnecessary, over the top, like taking the time to really aim this final shot at point blank. And then the way that she could like recover into this pose, like sweeping like across her body versus like this hand kind of swooping down. You get contrast from like she's really upright here, she's still kind of like upright here, and I know even if you did like a more appealing pose, if you have something that has more contrast right before she goes into that final pose, you have more room to play around with how she transitions between the two, and it'll feel like cooler when she eventually resolves. I really like Alex's Driver with her chest being a little bit more rotated, have a little bit more sort of sass in the hips, get that one knee relaxed, the one leg a lot straighter. It'll just feel a lot more pushed. On the other hand, some of this, like this pose, seems like pretty like exaggerated and extreme, but much like the Spider-Man stuff earlier, we don't actually like some of these poses, like for the most part that this camera's here, she's quite contorted through face and through body, and it's not like the maximum coolest pose that we could be seeing through this slow-mo section. So getting into it, she seems like really relaxed. I wish that she had like lights or something on her gun. I think your sort of volumetric fog situation, I think she needs a little bit more to stand out, so that there's like some kind of like she's a bit more of a focal point through here. But then she just feels like she's blending into this and not like she's actually dodging in a way that is like cool. She's just kind of smudging down into Neo kind of Matrix dodge. And I think I'd want to see her like really think about that pose and have like a ready moment where she starts pulling the gun out from behind her head or whatever. And she is like getting ready to do something in some fashion, and whether she like goes into a spin or just like there's a little bit more of an anticipation to this that isn't just her sort of falling backwards. And then through this section, what's the coolest possible thing that she could be doing? Well, probably looking at this guy at the very least, who she's gonna like slice at, having like a cool facial expression, but then also like how do we reveal her body and show that she's doing something so sick, having her like whole arm be winding up into this pose, and one foot maybe giving her a little bit more stability on the front end, and then the other foot back and out of the way, will just give her a little bit like more interest and a lot less my whole body is sitting over top of itself. As much as you can like get those different limbs out of the way to give her some kind of like idea like how she's even where that power's even coming from for her to have this follow through. And we see her sort of mugging in this way that she's max level cool. Before she follows through. And again, same thing with that follow through. I'd want to see like she's so straight up and down. Like this feels so casual. She almost feels like she's tripping, or she's like, "Oh, hey, you okay, man?" And she just whipped through an insane attack. How far can you push that? Like I almost feel like you'd want to see her chest is on the other side of this, and this open arm is all the way through, so that this arm being out front, you're actually seeing the front of her body now. That's like the force of what she's done. And then her head is still facing that guy. Or maybe not. Maybe she doesn't care. You know, doesn't have to be quite as much. Blech. Fuck you. You know.
Just a quick add-on to that one. She's got this sick matrix dodge, but the thing that she's dodging is all the way over here, off screen. So just increase the tension by making that blade, come all the way down, go right over her head. No reason.
Great note.
I think
No reason we can't see that.
I think there's also a cool opportunity because her arm morphs into like it goes from a sword to a gun, and it feels that the rig has the capability of changing from one to another, but you have some cool opportunities here to show this. So imagine if this blade weren't there, and then it went into slow-mo, and you can see the sword sort of forming in the slow-mo, and then it slices it up. And then when it's over here, she does finger guns, just joking, it's a real gun, boom! Then that would be like a cool character moment for it. And I feel that you have the opportunities in your narrative right now to do so. You just have to pick the moments and slow those down to make it funny.
Yeah. Great suggestions. Cool. All right. Well, we're already running along, rats. Any last thoughts here for Soul?
Did you reuse a hallway scene and have this person be about the size of a thumbtack, given that these are handrails?
Wow. You know,
Hey,
he's
Thumbelina
not wrong.
needs...
Oh, they're not handrails. Look. Oh, wait, I can see. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the background looks like a much larger hallway scene.
Oh, that's really funny. That's a great observation.
Maybe she's a fairy, Adam. Maybe she's a fairy.
I will
Thank
say,
you.
I'm unbothered by it. For what it's worth. I'm like, yeah, there's like she's in some kind of mechanical thing. The background I
like
find
it.
undistracting. Soltex
You
says
did a good job of. Oh, I was gonna say you did a good job of flattening the background. A lot of times people have like no lighting, very detailed geometry. Solid gray makes it read a lot better. Good job.
Yeah. They say I wanted to feel big for the character. I had to rush because this was for a challenge. Cool. Well, challenge complete. All right, everybody. Rats in the chat for Soltex. Thank you so much for submitting and for being such a consistent, wonderful part of this community. We really appreciate you, each and every one of you. And for so many first-time viewers, thanks for joining us. We hope you had a nice time. We try to do these streams roughly monthly, but last month was GDC, and so we didn't. I guess we had Animex, so that was that. But that's it for us today. Let's do a little sign off from the team. Little farewells. Who wants to say bye first?
Me, because I gotta go. I'm
Okay.
Brendan, and you can find me at Brendan Animate on every social media platform.
Wonderful.
And with that,
Bye,
goodbye.
Brendan.
I will go second. because I also need to leave. I'm Adam Waldman. I don't really use social media, even though I probably should. But you can find me on like LinkedIn or something. I don't know. Have fun. Bye.
Bye. Is everybody gonna leave after they say bye? Let's do it. Next.
Just all gonna just mic drop and go.
Yeah, I'm JT. You cannot find me on social media, even though I am on there, but I am refusing to give you that information. So yeah. But yeah, stay hungry. And yeah, keep turning out some cool stuff.
Thanks, JT.
You gotta
Right
go
on.
hunt for JT yourself.
You're just what you did is you just made it a challenge, JT.
It's like a, yeah,
you
it's
should have
like
just
a
said
Just like the
it's like a
80s.
geocache. You gotta go find the.
Well, I'm Vanessa. You can find me on Twitter under Banimator. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, although I won't respond to you if you don't write me a message or an introduction. So do that. Anyway, good luck out there.
I'll go next. I also don't do a huge amount of social media, but I am on Instagram and post some animation stuff there. You can find my account at Sura_SS. I also do check in with LinkedIn and stuff. So if you add me on LinkedIn, and same thing, if you send me a message, I probably won't notice you if you don't send me a message, but feel free to message me on there.
I'll go next. Yeah, I'm John DeFont. You can find me JC DeFont on pretty much everywhere. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to shoot me a message there as well. And cool stuff, guys. Keep going.
My name is Christopher. You can find me at WriteOmu or Christopher Singh on most social media platforms. Not all, though. I don't use TikTok.
I'm Alex, and I put my handles on the chat. It's easier. It's a lot of R's and E's and I's.
And Alex is one of the few rats who is great and has their information in the Discord channel. Hint to all the rats listening, both in here and in the chat. Use the Discord, meet the rats channel, posted a little intro. Finally, my name is Lana Bashinsky. You can find me on Twitter at Latieni. That's LATIENIE. You can also tweet me and the rest of us rats at the Rat Animators. That with the link at the top there. Please join our Discord if you want to be a part of this wonderful community. That's the primary place that I go to pull demo reels for demo reel review streams like this, or animation reviews. I don't want to say demo reel review because we'll take whatever shot you're working on as well for review. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for hanging out, and until next time, rats.